The marriage that was never meant to be. They told me I was lucky, born into wealth, chosen, promised. A marriage arranged since I was barely old enough to pronounce his name. Elias. Cold eyes, sharp jaw, a mind like a blade. The kind of man who walked into a room and made everyone straighten their spine. Including me. They said he was my future. I said nothing. I wore the white dress. I said the vows. I played the role of the perfect daughter, the perfect bride, the perfect pawn. But I wasn't perfect. I was awake. And on our wedding night, when Elias slipped into my bed without a word, our bodies touched, but not our hearts. There was something mechanical in it. Something hollow. Something that made me crave more, even though I hated myself for it. I didn't know what I wanted. He didn't either. But we kept returning to each other's arms like moths to a flame, unsure whether we were drawn by desire or destruction. I thought maybe, with time, I'd learn to love him. But then the lies began to surface. Whispered secrets. Silent calls. Meetings in shadows. Elias wasn't just part of the family business. He was deep inside something darker. A circle. A secret society bound by blood and legacy. And I was the final piece of their twisted puzzle. The one meant to carry a child. Not out of love. Out of duty. I ran. Left him. Left everything. I burned the veil and buried the name. But life has a cruel way of looping back on itself. I ended up in a town where cliffs kissed the sea and no one asked questions. That's where I met him. Raphael. Quiet. Intense. Eyes like winter. He took me in. He never pressed. He watched me cry, watched me scream, watched me fall apart and stayed. Then he found out I was pregnant. He never flinched. I don't want anything from you, he said. I just want you to survive. But survival wasn't enough anymore. I wanted to live, to feel. And one night, I crawled into his bed. We didn't speak. We didn't know what it meant. But for the first time, I felt like I was real. I should have known better. Elias came back. Thinner. Paler. But his eyes burned the same. He found me. Found us. And the storm inside him. I could feel it shake the walls. You left me, I told him. You gave up on me first, he replied. And suddenly I was trapped between two men. Two lives. Two truths. So I made them both a promise. We form a truce. A forced alliance. Because the circle is coming for all of us. And if we don't stand together, we'll all fall alone. They agreed. We lived under the same roof. Watched each other. Ate in silence. Touched without meaning to. Kissed when no one else was looking. Slept in beds that weren't meant for peace. It was hell. But it was mine. What they didn't know, what they couldn't guess, was that I was never just a pawn. Never just a mother-to-be. I was the prophecy. The chosen heart. The broken one. And I had chosen my path long ago. The night of the ritual, they stood on either side of me, believing they were my guardians. And I spoke the words. Let the chains fall. Let the queen rise. I spared them. Both. Because I had loved them. Deeply. In pieces. But love was never meant to break me. It was meant to make me whole. So I turned away. You were my fire, I told Elias. My mirror, I told Raphael. But I am a storm. And as I walked into the flame, my body unburned, my soul roaring with power I knew. I wasn't his bride. I wasn't their lover. I wasn't anyone's anymore. I was mine. They watched me disappear into the flame. Not a scream. Not a goodbye. Just silence. And maybe that hurt more than anything else. Because I had loved them. Deeply. I had let them into my body, into my fears, into the parts of me I never even dared explore on my own. But love had turned me into a weapon. Their expectations. Their lies. Even their tenderness. All of it had carved something in me. A scar. A prophecy. A throne. So I burned it all. And rose from the ashes. Not a bride. Not a victim. Not a mother. Just me. They say power heals. That it gives you clarity. It doesn't. It just makes the silence heavier. Sometimes, late at night, I close my eyes and I remember the way Elias would hold me like he was afraid I'd disappear. Or the way Raphael looked at me like I was the only real thing left in the world. And I wonder, was there a version of this life where I didn't betray them? where we could have all walked away with hearts still beating, with hope still glowing. But then I remember the truth. I had no choice. Because in their world, I was always going to be someone's possession. And I refused. Sometimes I feel them. In the wind. In the fire. In the shadows of my mind. Elias, sharp like a blade. Raphael, soft like a wound that never healed. Maybe they hate me. Maybe they still love me. Maybe both. But I didn't rise to be loved. I rose to be free. And if one day they come for me again, with rage in their hands and heartbreak in their eyes, let them come. I'm not afraid anymore. Because I am not a bride, not a queen, not a mother, not a witch. I am the fire. And this time, I burn for no one but myself. The three of us, under the same roof. We ate in silence. We walked like strangers. We slept in rooms, separated by ghosts. But we shared one goal, survival. The circle wanted my child. They said he would be the bridge between light and shadow. But I knew better. They wanted control, power, my soul. So I proposed something dangerous. A fake alliance. Elias and Raphael both agreed, reluctantly. We trained. We planned. We lived like a family that had been ripped apart and sewn back together with barbed wire. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, one of them would end up in my bed. Never both. Never a word spoken. Just skin, breaths, heat, then cold again. We didn't know what we were to each other. And maybe that was the worst part. I was drowning. In guilt. In desire. In confusion. Elias would look at me like I belonged to him. Like I was his crown, stolen and returned. Raphael, on the other hand, touched me like I was something sacred. Like he already knew I was going to leave him, but wanted to feel alive before I did. And me. I wanted both. And neither. I wanted freedom. But I was trapped in my own longing. So I made a decision. If I had to break one of them to save myself, I would. The day came. The circle gathered under the eclipse. The stars aligned. The winds hushed. I stood in the center of the ancient hall, my hands painted with blood, my dress black as death. Elias stood behind me, Raphael to my right, both sworn to protect me. But they didn't know what was about to happen. Because I had unlocked the final truth. The ritual wasn't meant to protect the child. It was meant to awaken me. The high priest began the incantation. I felt my body tremble. My vision blurred. Voices echoed inside my skull. I screamed. They thought it was pain. But it was power. I saw the circle's real plan. To bind me. Use me. Breathe from me. They never believed I was the prophecy. They thought I was just the vessel. But I wasn't. I was the fire. The moment the final word was spoken, I opened my eyes. And everything exploded in black light. They thought they had saved me. Elias had sold his soul. Raphael his honor. Both of them kneeling before a woman they believed they loved, but who had been playing them all along. Yes, I was in love, but I was also desperate. Pregnant. Alone. Cornered. I did what I had to do. I used their love to buy time. I used my body to open doors. Because what no one knew, not even I at the beginning, was that the child wasn't the key. I was. The prophecy never spoke of a baby. It spoke of a heart broken 3 times. A heart capable of mastering the black light. And mine had been broken by Elias, by Raphael, and by myself. The night of the ritual, the fire rose. The elders stepped out of the shadows. I stepped forward. I said the forbidden words. Let the chains fall. Let the queen rise. An explosion of black light. Elias was thrown to the ground. Raphael smashed into a wall. The elders dropped to their knees. And I stood tall, hair lifted by invisible winds, eyes burning with a light they had never seen. I am not your offering, I said. I am your end. I spared Elias. I spared Raphael. But I didn't return to them. I watched them from above, calm, cold. I loved you, I said. But that was before I remembered who I was. Before I realized that love, for me, was a trap. Raphael fell to his knees. You're lying. No, I whispered. I did love you. Both of you. But I stopped loving myself trying to be who you needed. Now I choose me. Elias looked at me, empty, broken. So all of this, what we shared, what was it for? I stepped toward him. gently touched his cheek, and answered, so I could become invincible. Then I turned my back and walked into the fire.
We're two hearts in the dark, chasing whispers through the night. Secrets buried in the stars, hidden in the pale moonlight. Every glance feels like a spark, every word just out of reach. We're dancing close but still